Joe here, and today is Sunday, August 29th. This is the official day of the start, but unofficially, since Friday night, the con has been open and games have been being set up and played. And we started yesterday playing this game, Brotherhood and Unity. And I'm here with Tony and with James. And I am the friendly Serbian player. Tony has the Croats, James has the Bosniaks, and we've played already. As we see here, we're in the midst of turn 3. This is a quick playing game, and we're about to start turn 4. So before we start, what is your impression for now of the game?
Yeah, it's great because I have high hopes for this game, and it's living up to them. So that's really cool. The two things that stand out to me, I mean, obviously it's the theme, right? The Bosnian War. Mm-hmm. So, it's so recent. And I remember being a kid, during the Clinton years and hearing all about that. So the theme is fantastic. And the cards, I mean, just learning the history, I mean, that's part of the reason we do this. The actual gameplay itself, again, is pretty fantastic. That, the no CRT, the rules, it's really cool. The card events, like I was telling Joe yesterday, I really love the whole gotcha mechanic on cards, which is the whole
the interrupt cards.
The interrupt cards. Yeah. So someone thinks they have a nice plan. They're like, ha ha ha, and you're like, time out.
Not so fast.
Not so fast. So
here come the bad news.
Yeah. So I'm loving it.
Okay, it's great, James.
Yeah, I would echo that. We've had a couple of exciting moments when we've had pop-up events that we did not anticipate. And you don't know what's going to happen minute to minute. So beautiful board. Just really impressed. So
it's great, and we're gonna continue on turn 3. So we'll see how the action develops. But right now, just in a nutshell, during the first 2 turns, the Serbians were able to break the resistance here of the Bosniaks and link their units that can trade supply to Yugoslavia to the units that start in this enclave here in Krajina and northern Bosnia here. Meanwhile, significant development has been that James Bosniaks have they first reestablished supply. So the Bosniaks are now fully supplied in Sarajevo, and now they're going into the offensive over there. So I kind of neglected that a little bit, but and the score, let's see what the score is in strategic will points. Serbians have 49, the Croats have 25, right?
25.
25, and the Bosniaks have 43. So the Bosniaks are doing really well with one more turn to go, where, as shown here, the Bosniaks will continue to receive reinforcements. Well, will be first. Will be going first. They already received their turn 3 reinforcements. So that's the status of this game of Brotherhood and Unity. I'm gonna be for the whole week, and I'm gonna leave the game here so more players want to play, and maybe you guys want to play again.
Like I was telling the guys here, I think the most important thing of any game is it's just fun. This game is really fun, and these guys were making some excellent points.
Yeah, we were just discussing the balance between being historically accurate and having a good mechanic and having a rule book that you can basically on the first or second try make a good go at the game, get a flavor for what happened in the chaos that we remembered happening in Bosnia back in the 90s. And you get that from this, in addition to it being a pretty smooth, quick game. I give it a 0 on laborious and give it a give it a 10 on fluidity and speed.
Well, I'm an idiot, so everything is a little difficult for me. So I wouldn't say it's a little laborious, but no, it really is simple. And like again, learning so much, and we're not like Joe said, we're not counting beans. We're not adding what is it, that water to the pasta thing. So, but I mean, this really strikes the excellent balance of historical accuracy and just simple. It is simple mechanics and gameplay. What do you think, Joe?
And that's what I thought, that originally a lot of people look for historical simulation, but if a game is not fun, why would we bother? I'd rather read a book. And this game is fun. It is quick moving. It makes you think in terms of the strategic goals that each of the sides have. Now, as the Serbians, now I have to keep my gains, and maybe I have to add some more, and I have to contain the Bosniaks. But Bosniaks can pull a card that can easily turn everything south, and it can be one of those cards that lands my foreign attitude here, and the mechanic of the airstrikes. I think it's really effective, because I don't think we probably won't have any airstrikes in the game, but the prospect of being there looming over one's head, it really sends a chilling effect. And I had a couple of times to halt my offensive to play a card just to bring back the foreign attitude so that I don't get hit with those NATO strikes. So that's just one aspect. The other aspect I really like is the way he deals with supply in the game. It's very simple. You trace supply to these foreign spaces. If not, you trace supply to these key spaces, but those are limited supply. It's only 3 per space, so your forces in that region are not going to grow. So then you have the urgency of connecting them, so that you can strategically redeploy. Like I redeployed these foreign troops, and I was able to do that from their starting space in Yugoslavia only because I had reestablished supply here in Posavina and Krajina. So it's very elegant mechanics to present a situation that is historically accurate, and it's fun, which at the end of the game, that's the most important thing for me.
Yeah, and I would just add again, or not add, just reiterate, this track right here is just so brilliant. Like Joe was saying, if you want to fight, but then you don't want to fight, because then you're going to get Big Daddy NATO upset, and you're going to get airstruck. So thematically, you're going to war, committing, crimes or whatever, upsetting the international world, but at the same time, then you play a card and you do something good, and then the international community is happy with you. And the fact that you can encapsulate that in a simple track like that, such a big thematic thing, is brilliant.
And then how some card-driven games are heavily scripted. This one has one thing that I really like. It's a 3-player game, and normally at the beginning of the game, there's a tendency for the Croats and the Bosniaks to ally themselves, because the Serbs are very powerful at the beginning. But remember, there's some cards in there that give you an incentive to attack the Bosniak if you're the Croats, and vice versa. And sometimes you have to think for your side and say, the hell with the alliance. I want to win the game. And that has happened already.
That's
you
what
guys, you've already you played a card, I think, that would James.
I took 3.
That you took spaces. There's an event that forces the Croats to get out of some of spaces to which the Bosniaks are adjacent. That happened here in Sredna Bosna, which is a critical area for both factions to control at the end of the game. So you have that without forcing you to do it. You're encouraged to do it, and I find that's very entertaining, because every time you have a card that says now you have to do this no matter what's going on, it feels like forced, and you don't have that at all in this game.
Right, and you know what? Right from the jump, my plan was to attack you, pull out my cards, and change of plans. And that's great.
That's the way it is.
There are interesting facets of the territory being so mountainous, how that has projected into the game with the routes of attack. And there are many times you want to do something, but transportation and logistics, just getting there, makes it impossible. And so on a number of occasions, as in real life, we just said, I'll build some entrenchment. It's the best thing I can do. So not a hot war, a cold, hot, back and forth type of war.
Yeah.
That's and I think also each of the sides are different, because the Bosniaks, that two movement factor is really important. It doesn't see if you move into an enemy controlled empty space, that's it. You can't advance beyond that. So but on the other hand, the Serbs have units with movement allowances of 4, so they can move across the board easier. And then the Croats have these foreign units that are very powerful, but they can't attack the Bosnians. So it makes you think it's a very asymmetrical game. Each side plays very differently, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So let's continue with turn 3. So James, you won the game as the Bosniak player, so what are your comments? Any comments about the game?
Well, love the game. It is very playable after reading the rules one night before, so great on that aspect. Actually did want to be the Bosniaks because I could see the Fabian strategy, avoiding engagements, would work, and it did work very well. My Croat player was my best attacking unit. He was my surrogate, keeping the Serbs pinned down, just trying to hold regions. That allowed me to consolidate my areas, and then, of course, the big turning point was when I started to take over Sarajevo, and we got a bunch of NATO airstrikes. And I think I rolled and got 6 step losses on the Serbian player with NATO airstrikes. So they're a little bit hurtful, and I
That's
really
understood.
and I don't want to say credit luck, but there was some really timely and well-timed events that won the game, because I would not have suspected this would have happened.
This is the card that you played that triggered the airstrikes. This is Srebrenica, the event which shifts the foreign attitude 2 points, 2 negative points, and what the effect of that is that at the time that you played that card,
you were right there.
I were right there.
Yeah.
So it is not something that happened because I captured a space or brought foreign units. That immediately triggers the marker to move deep into that NATO airstrike zone.
Almost game over, in fact.
Yeah. And that triggers a series of NATO airstrikes that I think between you and Tony, you made 8 attacks before I was able to play a card, and I had to burn one of my top 4 cards for a diplomatic action to move that marker back outside of the zone here into this minus 4 box. So that was a real turning point in the game.
That sapped your strength, because then we always picked on the mechanized units, and you had to reinforce those or rebuild them partially to be able to attack anywhere. So that burned another card or 2.
In order for me to get out of that conundrum, I had to play this card here. This is my best combat card. It gives me a +5 in clear terrain. Because it's a 4 card, it allows me to move 2 boxes on that 4 and 8 card. And then it's just the reality that you have to use 1 impulse to do that. That kills your momentum, because then you have another impulse where you can fortify your positions or do something. So it's a real momentum killer. Not only your units melting away, but
If you had an attack set up to go the very next impulse, you basically took 2 airstrikes on those stacks before you could initiate, and that's what happened.
But this almost the NATO airstrikes, I was able, as you stated, to avoid them twice in the game because the marker came during the game in the border,
right
the
there.
fringe there, and I was able to use cards for diplomatic actions to just to avoid that. But except for that last Srebrenica card, which broke the back of the Serbians.
If I hadn't drawn it, there'd have been a different outcome.
Yeah.
And in fact, if I had played it for the ops earlier, I mean, that's probably the most important card in the Bosniak deck. So, like how he did the insert map with Sarajevo.
Yes.
If he'd have tried to squeeze it into there, it would have been a kludge. And as it turned out, I guess Sarajevo was a little more operational than it traditionally has been.
Yes.
I think in the real war, they just sort of stuck up there in the mountains and shot at the city.
And I think in the real war, nobody ever controlled the region. But yes, there was a lot of. You were able to gain those 14 strategic will points. And I mean, for the Bosniak, Sarajevo is a must because if you don't control that region at the end of the game, that's a -14 penalty, which
that flips the game.
If any of the other 2 players is in the neighborhood and strategic will points, that may be the game.
Yeah.
So I even though I've made a video of the game and I went through the tutorial. This is the first time I played and the first time you played, and Tony.
It'd be interesting being the Serb now, seeing what you had done, because I think you basically got to win it outright. No way you can't. You can't force the Bosniak to go up here.
Yeah, you gotta. If you don't win it in the first 2, in the second turn, by the second turn, then you have to, as you said to me, you have to reinforce certain positions where you know that the Bosniaks need to attack. So it was great playing the game, and I want to thank you, and I want to thank Tony, he's not right here now. And well, you saw it. This is Brotherhood and Unity Compass Games, designed by Tomislav Cipcic, and this is Stuka Joe, and as I always say, what do I always say?
Well, play safe is good.
Play safe is good. Signing off for now.
Signing off for now.
Thanks for watching.